All right. Okay. Erudite versus Temple. Let's do it.
Where you can't know who you will be in that society. What are some of the principles you hope are there? Rule of law, right? And like fair treatment before justice would be.
Yes, that works wonderfully in a collection of individuals with a shared moral worldview and probably a national border. But what happens when that society is up against another society overlapping on its territories with a completely different worldview?
Well, this is part of how you can engage in the veil of ignorance, is going, well, I don't know who I am in this society, but how do I want that society theoretically to engage in foreign policy? Well, one of them, I would say, is I want my government to protect me as a citizen of whatever this nation state is, because I don't want other nation states coming in, stomping me and killing me. And
this is more so like an example that I'll use that's probably the least egregious would be open air fish markets in New York City. I think they're absolutely disgusting, and they should be allowed.
Because they smell?
It's not just that; it's the rotting fish and flesh that slops off
the street,
and it's all over the street.
Hose.
And then it's just rotting for days. And when you go to Lower East Side, it's just everywhere you go.
Go to Houston.
The people who live there, that's their society. They are largely Chinese and Southeast Asian. They don't care about open air fish markets. But the people of New York have started to move away because they don't like it, and this has created an entrenched enclave. Enclaves are bad, and I believe having a group of people that form their own subdivision that have their own rules is going to create.
I have no idea what they're talking about. Like, I don't know the purpose of the conversation. I'm so confused. What started the conversation?
Definition. I would argue that by that definition, which I agree with, there is several.
Poor treatment before. So if you imagine a society where you can't know who you will be in that society, what are some of the principles you hope are there? Rule of law, right? And like fair treatment before justice would be one that we would all be for, because I don't ever want to be in the minority group that just gets treated poorly by the justice system because I happen to be in that minority group.
So how would you define society?
The way that we use it, a collection of people with like somewhat unified cultural values, probably bordered by a nation state that like unifies together.
That's a great definition. I would argue that by that definition, which I agree with, there are several distinct societies that exist within the United States, and each and every one of these societies is willing to. That's a great definition.
A collection of people with like somewhat unified cultural values, probably bordered by a nation state that like unifies together.
That's a great definition. I would argue that by that definition, which I agree with, there's
collection of ideas on culture and values bordered by a nation or state. Okay.
Several distinct societies that exist within the United States, and each and every one of
no, unless you want to say there's 50 different societies, then I guess sure, whatever.
These societies is willing to use violence and lawfare against those who threaten their moral worldview.
What does this have to do with the veil of ignorance?
So you're saying in a society, like, who would you want to be? What rules do you want? And I would say, yes, that works wonderfully in a collection of individuals with a shared moral worldview and probably a national border. But what happens when that society is up against another society overlapping on its territories with a completely different worldview?
Well, this is part of how you can engage in the veil of ignorance, is going, well, I don't know who I am in this society, but how do I want that society theoretically to engage in foreign policy? Well, one of them, I would say, is I want my government to protect me as a citizen of whatever this nation state is, because I don't want other nation states coming in, stomping me and killing me and taking me.
This is more so like an example that I'll use that's probably the least egregious would be open air fish markets in New York City. I think they're absolutely disgusting, and they should be allowed.
Because they smell?
It's not just that; it's the rotting fish and flesh that slops off
the street,
and it's all over the street.
Hose.
And then it's just rotting for days. And when you go to Lower East Side, it's just everywhere you go.
Go to Houston.
The people who live there, that's their society. They are largely Chinese and Southeast Asian. They don't care about open air fish markets. But the people
very loose definition of society, but I get what you're trying to say, I guess.
New York have started to move away because they don't like it, and this has created an entrenched enclave. Enclaves are bad, and I believe having a group of people that form their own subdivision that have their own rules is going to create animosity and violence, because you will create two distinct moral.
Then create an environment of more of a community. Wait, actually, what the fuck? We have subdivisions all over America. America was built on subdivisions of different cultures and values. Unless he's trying to preach nationalism, which is bad, it leads to indoctrination and potentially fascism. So I don't know exactly what he's arguing. He's arguing that the United States is bad because it has all these different types of values and cultures.
Worldviews at odds with each other. Now, the reason I cite this example is because it's one of the least egregious, meaning the people of New York don't really care all that much about the open air fish markets. They just move away.
Yeah.
They stopped living in the area. More Chinese people moved in, and now the area is dominated by Chinese. Mm-hmm. But you could take a look at this and bring it to its most egregious, and that is like Chicago crime and shooting violence.
Sure.
So you have areas where there may be a middle-class black family, and gangbangers will come into that territory, or just young black men who are violent.
rural areas that have one type of identity are more violent than urban areas. I want us to all be very clear. The reason why Republican states have more violence typically is because of the rural areas in these areas. People like Tim always use urban areas, urban cities, but that's because they're bigger and they have more people. So of course it's going to have more violence because there's more people. Of course. But these smaller areas that have less money, that are less known, these rural areas have just as much violence with less people. I think that is worse. That is more dangerous. So this whole thing about bringing up all the cities doesn't really bleed into the actuality of violence in America by any means.
Whatever reason they may be, and they will create crime. This will cause the higher income people to flee and then just dramatically impoverish the area and create more.
And the higher income people are still in all these cities. What are you talking about? There's different parts of the city. All of them are in the city. All the high income people are in the city. They don't move away. They're still in the city. They move to maybe a different part of the city, but they're still in the city. What is he talking about? I think it's okay to express your culture, but as soon as it affects the local or even national society, that's when I think you need to stop. I don't know what that means personally. How does your culture affect local or national society? I don't know what that means personally. I have no idea what you're insinuating.
Crime and violence throughout the area. So then the argument we would make is, what rules do we want? Well, our principles would suggest that you are innocent until proven guilty, and you should not be searched or have objects seized without something that warrants it.
Probable reason.
And probable cause. And so what happened in New York is they said, this neighborhood is where most of the shootings and violence happens. So this is where we're going to stop and frisk people. It also coincided with being a black neighborhood. The progressives then said, why are the majority of stop and frisks black? And the government, which these are Democrat appointed police, said, that's just where the crime is. Then they said, no more stop and frisk. You need to stop because you're doing it to black people. So you have two distinct moral worldviews.
Sure.
Well, they said you need to stop because there became an innate bias and stereotype, assuming that you're black, therefore you're a criminal. That's what the problem became. Again, a very simplistic notion of a very complex problem that these magtards always like to do. Erudite, please push back. Add context, please.
Can't do this only to black people, but it's just the neighborhood where the crime happens.
Yeah.
Your principles are meaningless in this regard because both groups are going to assert power over the other to make their world happen.
Well, this is
what group is? There's not two groups instilling power. It's one group. The city is the group instilling power. The other group is not instilling power on the city. Your whole fucking analysis that makes no fucking sense. These people get paid, by the way, bro. Like, what are we talking about? I swear to God, you guys get paid. You guys get paid. You're just fucking talking nonsense.
where democracy can be beautiful or bad, right? And so what the thing you're posing, right? Say you say, I don't want to have enclaves in a society. And my counter to that would basically say, I think with the size of nation states, it's almost unavoidable. Even just think about the way that geography shapes a culture, right? If you've got a nation that's mountainous and full of pine trees, and it's also in a nation with beaches and fishing, and it's also in a nation with, insert different geographies, right? The people in the culture that are going to emerge from these, even just geographies alone, are probably going to have some of the different values. They're going to have things where they want to prioritize fishing industry more, but it's possible that the lumber industry is like having issues and they want more advocacy. And so they'll always have these competing interests. And I think the beauty of a democracy that's functioning well is that it takes two things where actually there might be reasonable concern, right?
Let me ask you a question.
Can I finish my thought and then I'll let you ask a question?
This is a long.
Hey, you went for 5 minutes. I'll get 2 minutes, okay?
You've been doing this to me for 5 years, Steve.
If you can succinctly make the point.
Okay. The beauty of a dialectic of a democracy is you can take two opposing values, and what the idea is to find a compromise within both, where ideally you find the best pieces
so
of
here's
each and
why
synthesize
I'm
them.
interrupting.
Yeah.
I feel like that is a root.
Oh my God, bro. You guys stop getting bitched by this motherfucker, bro. You just went on a fucking rant. Let me finish what I'm fucking saying, and then you can get involved. Unless we want to do the interrupt game, then I'll interrupt too. We can do that. Fuck. Let's lock in. Come on, let's do it.
That is rudimentary, and we understand that completely. It's not the point that I'm making. So I'll give you a better example. Dearborn, Michigan has several instances of female genital mutilation among young girls.
Yeah.
That is explicitly illegal in the United States. Mm-hmm. But in that community, it happens because there's no law enforcement that will stop it.
You said several instances, acting like this is a normalized thing. This is a rare thing, and several instances. Several instances needs to attach a number so we can have a analysis of the actuality of what is going on in the environment itself. Language is important. He's trying to insinuate that there's a culture of mutilating young girls. Are we fucking serious? If I looked up the statistics of like how these certain communities that have a higher than average fucking male to female rape situation, am I making the insinuation that there's a culture of rape there? Like, we can play this stupid fucking game. And you're using Dearborn, Michigan. Why is he using it? Ladies and gentlemen, of course, we know why he's using it. Because he either wants to attack the Muslim community or he wants to attack the people on the left. That's why he's doing it. It's lazy.
Right. You are not going to get a white cop to go into a Muslim community and say, stop doing this, because they'll say it's our community. In fact, they even have their own de facto versions of.
What the fuck are you yapping about? This is not a thing. Or white cops can't go to Dearborn, Michigan because they say this is our community. You're fucking lying. This is a lie. This is not a real thing. No fucking society works like that in America. No. You're fucking making shit up. Making shit up. I really wish, like, if I was making some serious bread from what I'm doing, I would be one of those political commentators that will go to these places and debunk them in real time. Because these motherfuckers be lying in their secluded fucking areas in the middle of butt fuck nowhere. And it's so fucking annoying. They don't research shit. They don't look things up. They see some headlines and create huge narratives without any context backing it up. It's so annoying. Austin is going seeing adults act like kids. No, let me go. Like girls. No, I'm for sure. I'm there. Austin, this is unbecoming of me, but I'm getting so tired of listening to these people. But I'm trying to make this my job, so I have to do these political commentary. I don't want to, but I have to.
Police.
And they likely won't report it either. That's probably
Indeed.
part of the issue
So
too.
what is the solution then? Should the overarching government dispatch some white...
Report it either. That's probably part of the issue
So
too.
what is the solution then? In fact, they even have, you are not going to get a white cop to go into a Muslim community and say, stop doing this, because they'll say it's our community.
All right, let's look this up. Fuck it. In Dearborn, Michigan, can white cops go there? All right, let's see what we can find. A Michigan man is going viral for a social experiment he conducted last year to see how long, as a white man, he could drive around without his license without being pulled over to prove racial class biases local policing. At a city commission meeting in Grand Rapids, this is not... Shout out you, proving the fucking racial bias. Shout out you. I'm looking for Dearborn, Michigan. Shout out you, though. Obviously, there's racial bias. We already know this. Tim Pool is a grifter who longs for Jewish schlongs. The right thinks he's a joke, and the left thinks he's pathetic. He is a fucking pathetic. And I'm kind of annoyed Erudite's playing so fucking nice with him. I'm not gonna lie. It's pissing me off. So this is in Dearborn. This is a white cop. So clearly they have white cops in Dearborn. Tim. Fired after 2 harassment claims in Dearborn. Cop found new badge in River Rogue. So when he was chief in Dearborn, Ron Haddad hired Brian Smothers as a police officer. Today, he wishes he had it. She never worked for another police department. After Haddad fired Smothers in 2020, the longtime police chief thought he would never wear a badge again, but he was wrong. I don't think there's any justification for hiring people that put citizens at risk. Smothers' problem in Dearborn began in 2019 when a young woman came to police headquarters to report a crime. Her former boyfriend, she said, had posted a video of the two of them having sex on a pornographic website. She stared at still image from the video with police. Officer Smothers took the report, but according to an internal investigation, he was not assigned to investigate the crime. Within within about a week, the victim would report to police that Smothers started texting her, engaging in unwanted and lengthy dialogue, according to investigation. So as you guys can kind of tell where this is going. This Dearborn white officer got in trouble for trying to, mess with a victim and fuck her, basically. That's what they're insinuating. But Muslim people live in Dearborn, so of course that's a problem. But like white officer in there being a creep, that's not a problem. So I don't know what the fuck Tim Pool is yapping about, oh, in Dearborn, you can't be a white officer because of Muslims. What? What are you talking about? What the fuck are we talking about? I think I saw something else too, right here. So Dearborn police chief, white guy, police chief, recites Muslim prayer, says city better served with more Arab officers. So, oh no, that's not okay. They're Arab officers. Oh no, Muslim police. That's a problem. How dare they? Oh no, oh no, oh no. Tim Pool's fucking complaining, bitching like a little moron. Like, I don't know what we're doing, bro. Erudite, please push back. Oh no, my audio fucked up. I gotta fucking undo it and do it again. Oh, these people. This is why I like watching Destiny. Destiny would push back against this bullshit. Fisco is becoming a little bit complacent. I need more people who's like, what? I like Soy Pill too. He pushed back against Michael Noah's very well. I need more aggression. I need more pushing back.
What is the solution then? Should the overarching government dispatch some white people who are non-Muslims to take over their government, to force them at gunpoint to stop?
Yeah, I mean, this is...
What are you talking? Bro.
Muslim community and say, stop doing this, because they'll say it's our community. In fact, they even have their own de facto versions of police.
And they likely won't report it either. That's probably...
They don't have de facto versions of police, bro. What are we talking about? Arab officers are a part of the Dearborn police force. Why are you lying? You're a lying bitch. Oh my God. What are you talking about?
So what is the solution then? Should the overarching government dispatch some white people who are non-Muslims to take over their government, to force them at gunpoint to stop?
Yeah, I mean, this is the...
Stop what? What is going on? What are you talking about?
Great federalist question is, to what extent should...
Now, that's a violation of the principles of the locals who voted that in.
It's true, but it might be for superseding like cultural values that we value more. This is the constant tension that happens with the federalism, like, amendment number 10. Go ahead, sorry.
So I'm going to say a few things. First of all is, thank you. You're not stating Rawls's full argument, where for the argument that Rawls gave, you could also apply that to Aristotle, because Aristotle was saying, what is the abstract concept of good that we can use? And Aristotle said there's 3 different political systems which are useful under different contexts that have their own issues. Rawls is also operating under the principle of equality, which is demonstratively false. Equality has been continually disproven by the science, as well as there are genetic differences between populations. That's disproven among all of the academic community. And so when you're looking at the Rawls, he's automatically jumping to socialism is good because equality is good. And this is all operating under the assumption that Enlightenment morality is correct.
Rawls is incredibly critical of socialism. He rejected egalitarianism.
So it depends on your definition of socialism, because
So it's like everybody versus Erudite. And she's not. I need her to put that fucking backpack on. I need her to get aggressive. I need her to flex the muscles and go crazy, because if this shit is playing nice, I'm turning this shit off. I'm not gonna lie. If we are playing nice with both people who are lying and making shit up, I am turning this off.
Socialists play a game where there's multiple definitions of socialism used at any given time. So you can pick one or the other based on context.
Rawls was responding to the Marx idea
of the democratic socialist, which is still a meaning of the word socialist.
Sure, I want to move on.
Who cares about a bunch of Muslims in Dearborn anyways? Sure, Muslims are pretty bad. I would say sure, Muslims are pretty bad. Certain types of Muslims are bad because of, extremism. Certain extreme Muslims are bad. I'm also not a fan of certain customs with like covering your wife and all that shit. I'm not with that, but hey, to each their own. We're all adults. We're free living beings. But that place wasn't even worth going to before they were there. Facts. Why do people care about Dearborn, Michigan in the first place? You don't give a shit about that. You never cared about that city in your fucking life until Muslims moved there. Chris, Cook. This is a fake fucking problem.
The next big story, but I do want to just conclude by saying I completely agree with Kyla. I think we should exert force over Muslims who refuse to adhere to our traditional
That is
values.
not my position at all, but I would love to flesh it out with you. But sort of my position. It's like 50% of my position.
Well, I think that, again, we're going to go on to the next.
I want to clarify their argument before we move on.
The point is, when there are people who enter our society who have
Erudite, you were playing way too fucking nice. It's pissing me off. I'm not gonna lie, it's pissing me off. What are the comments saying? So people respect Kyla for being able to maintain her composure. And I like maintain composure doesn't mean shit to me nowadays because these people can clip things out of context and it doesn't really manifest if people don't understand what you're saying. You need I may be wild for this, but Erudite is like very attractive. Austin, you're good. But she needs to make her stance pretty clear and don't let these misogynistic men run her. Let me give her more of a chance. Maybe I'm still very heated because when I watched that wake conversation, Ryan was just yapping and pissing me off so much. So maybe it's me. Maybe it's my fault. It could be.
Have a religious practice that is an affront to our moral worldview, we will exert force against them to make them stop.
Yes, to an extent.
The thing, well, of course, to an extent.
That's why I said
Not to an
50%.
extent, but not to an extent. Like we will use force up to whatever it means or whatever amount of force necessary to get them to stop. So it's not to an extent. It's literally up to.
She's saying we'll tolerate some of their religious beliefs.
Like I want religious freedom as well, right? And so this is like this is what I'm saying. There's this tension all the time between like individual rights of freedom of religion, but also state values of things like we don't need our children.
Sorry to interrupt, but we really do. I want to stress
Tim is
one more
correct.
thing.
Continue.
I got to stress one more thing. This argument still only works so long as you maintain the monopoly on violence. And if
Like a state.
your
I'm just
moral
clarifying.
worldview, not the state. If you, as a society with a moral worldview, have the monopoly on violence, you can stop, say, female genital mutilation. Sure. But if there is a new cultural worldview that has emerged, a new moral worldview, let's call it leftist, that tolerates and supports what Muslims are doing, they will.
Nobody tolerates mutilation of children. This is. Can you stop allowing him to say like clear lies, please?
take from you your monopoly on violence, and then you get a civil war.
So a lot of leftists get into this weird tension with like Islam because they're very pro freedom.
I don't want to have an argument about leftists and Islam. My point was, if you have a monopoly on violence, you can assert your authority. If there are two distinct factions with equal use of
no shit, yes, if people are in control, they can assert their authority in establishing an enforcement force. Yes, we know that. Sky is fucking blue.
Force, you get civil war.
I agree with that. The issue is, I guess,
the problem is the state is the one that has the enforcement power. The people who move there don't. So stop making it seem like they do, because you're just making shit up. I'm
just correcting the leftist idea that they just want FGM. They don't just want FGM. In fact, they acknowledge
that's the point.
This tension you're outlining exists regardless of the party side that you're pointing to.
My ultimate point, as we move on, again, sorry, is that your principles only apply to the people who agree with you, and that is universal to all moral groups. End of story.
What principles did she outline that perpetuates the idea of confirmation bias? Like, what?
Sure. Yeah, we live in a society. True.
Yes, like you might believe in the right to keep and bear arms, but you're not going to give an Islamic terrorist a gun and be like, you have a right to bear arms.
Sure. It's why I like a liberal principle.
So, they're trying to get her to agree that you need enforcement entities. She already agreed that you need enforcement entities. So what are they trying to get out of her?
Where we said, well, we should have a couple of basic rules that we all apply to because other things we shouldn't impose on.
So when you have
speech.
two distinct moral worldviews operating in one country, and I would say more than that, you are not going to abide them the same rights as you would some.
That's just not a thing. We don't have different worldviews. Everybody who comes to America has to follow American law and American principles. That's like mandatory. That's just how it is. Now, American principles and American law can be molded and evolve based off how people vote and incorporate themselves into the government. But people can't just come here and do whatever the fuck they want. This is not a thing. You're making shit up.
One of your society.
Sure, because I would say free speech is better than compelled or controlled speech. Yeah.
Like I would say, if someone is an advocate for the destruction of my country, I will not defend their right to speak. I will not defend their right to even bear arms either. If a man
If someone wants the destruction of your country, you
I will not defend their right to speak.
will not defend their right to speak. I mean, that's your right, I guess. But people have the right to hate America in America. That's just free speech. Yeah, she's a busty broadwood misogynist. Continue.
I will not defend the right to even bear arms either. If a man comes to this country screaming Allahu Akbar and starts throwing bricks at cops, I'm not going to say he has a right to keep and bear arms.
Yeah, but nobody thinks that he has a right for assault, right?
Yeah, thank you, Kyla. Like, what is... Bro, Tim just be yapping. He just be yapping. Nobody advocates for these crazy shit that you're assuming. You're alleging.
That's already barred out. But he might have a right to talk about it.
If someone expresses clear ideological sympathies for ISIS, we will not give them a gun.
If someone agrees with ISIS, I mean, if they agree with ISIS, then they're a domestic terrorist. Sure. Then yes, they're a threat to America. If they agree with the terrorist organization, they're a threat to America. Sky's fucking blue, Tim. If someone wants to destroy my country, I'm throwing hands. Love my country. It's like Tim is just yapping. Yes, we have laws that prevent this stuff. Yes.
Possibly with ISIS, I think that's the case in America, but I think that there's like good statutory reason if you're like a terrorist sympathizer or whatever. But like in general, like
right, my point is,
but we don't want to say people who we just disagree with can't have rights.
Domestic terrorism doesn't exist in the United States because of the First Amendment. So that's why Trump, his declaration was actually just a statement he made and not anything actually formal. Yeah. He would have to.
Domestic terrorism doesn't exist because of the First Amendment. What? Domestic terrorism doesn't exist because of the
case in America, but I think that there's like
maybe I heard him wrong. Maybe I'm just not listening. Let's hear him again.
Good statutory reason if you're like a terrorist sympathizer or whatever. But like in general, like
right, my point is,
but we don't want to say people who we just disagree with can't have rights.
Domestic terrorism doesn't exist in the United States because of the First Amendment. So that's why.
I wonder what people think about the people who are terrorists domestically who commit terrorism. They must not exist because of the First Amendment. Like, they must not be real people. They honestly, it's an imaginary. You know, the guy that tried to like bomb that protest with Mamdani in it, that didn't exist. The guy who tried to bomb the Boston Marathon, that didn't exist. The guy that shot up that one, it was like a bar. I forget where it was. I forget what state, but that didn't exist. Clearly, because of the First Amendment, it didn't exist. No way it existed. So, yeah, I think Tim broke the code. Domestic terrorism doesn't exist because of the First Amendment. He cooked, obviously. Of course. Bro, these people are real. They're millionaires to talk about politics. Like, okay. All right, Tim.
Trump, his declaration was actually just a statement he made and not anything actually formal. He would have to do an international declaration. This means, and I'll say it again, if someone is Antifa and says this country should burn, I will not defend their right to keep and bear arms. These are people who have expressed a violent intent, and we have seen in the past them use a violent intent. So, and that's a more egregious example. Let's jump to the next story, otherwise we'll keep talking. Yeah. This is from the Washington Post. The Pentagon.
That was so shit. Oh, that was so unbelievably shit. Oh my goodness. Oh man, that was so shit. These are two broads yapping. There is one. Tim is a fence senator. Tim sucks. This is married but fair enough trailer. What? Love you guys. She is married but fair enough trailer. I know she's married. These people need to relax on the Adderall. Facts.
Seeks more than $200 billion in budget request for Iran war. Some White House officials do not think the Defense Department's request is a realistic shot of being approved in Congress, one senior administration official says. Additionally, we've got more updates as more Marines are being deployed to the Middle East. And of course, Donald Trump has said Israel was angry and bombed the South Pars gas field in Iran. Crude oil is now up to $119 per barrel, and gas is expected to go up. I've seen reports, correct me if I'm wrong because I haven't read too much into this, that China is now cutting off fertilizer exports.
China.
And guys, I know the Republicans are going to say, stick with the plan. But as of right now, I don't want to be pessimistic. Let's just say, holy crap, this is bad.
How about what plan?
I've heard Phil loves China, actually, so I'd love to hear about
Phil's a good communist communicator about
China is an adversary. I will say that $200 billion, the request from the $200 billion, if I understand correctly, is to replace stocks they've already used. So it's not technically to continue funding the war. Not that it's not a slush fund anyways, essentially at the Pentagon, but it is to replace the stuff they've already used because you don't want to have your stockpiles of weapons.
Agreed. But the point is,
trillion,
guys,
we
spend several $100 billion on Israel for the past 50, 60 years. We spend $250 billion on Ukraine in the past 4 years, and now they want another $200 billion. I understand we spent like what's the budget per year, like $7 trillion?
I don't know. I have no idea.
It's some psychotic number like this. My point is, we are looking at. They're discussing removing sanctions on Iranian oil at sea because is it $7 trillion?
It's $8.38 billion. So this would up to $1 trillion.
Trillion, you mean?
Billion.
Billion.
838.7 billion.
Yeah, the supplemental,
really?
Yeah.
The supplemental budget request.
So this ups it to $1 trillion if they get it.
And it aims to cover sustained military operations, replenish depleted munitions, and accelerate weapons production amid intense strikes over the past 3 weeks. So I mean, like, look.
I get it. I don't like the Ayatollah. I don't like his son. I don't like their government. I don't like them constantly being a thorn in the side of all the countries in the region that are trying to just sell oil. I'm not a Greta Thunberg. Bring the oil on, baby drill, baby drill. Let's have some capitalism. Greta Thunberg doesn't even care anymore. She's demanding oil get sent to Cuba. She doesn't care about climate change. My point is, the Iranian government sucks miserably. But as we already discussed, Eric Prince, he was quoted as saying, the problem with Iran is to roll the dice. You don't know if you can succeed. This is not, I'll quote Charlie Kirk in June. I think it was June 17th. He said, this is a developed nation of 90 plus million people that you cannot just easily go in and topple. You cannot just ideologically change like some smaller countries. This is a serious war. Now, again, I think it's fair to point out, after Trump launched those strikes on the bunkers, a day after Charlie Kirk did say, I stand with my president and I want
Trump supporters are domestic terrorists. Cook.
to win. And I can respect that. I feel the same way. I want to win. I do think ill-advised, but I think we have to just be realistic. And I'm saying optimistic. But let's at least recognize a $200 billion budget request, oil at $120. This is not good news. This is not good news for anybody. I would implore the Republicans to pay attention to this, because if you ignore it or poo-poo it, you're going to lose the midterms worse than you may already be.
I'm in a real.
And if the Democrat would have done that, he would have been cooking the shit out of the Democrat. So, of course, double standard. We already know.
Like crossroads in my own soul about this, because we're all in. We put as Alex Jones said, we put our dick in the light socket. So here we are electrocuting, and we're all the way in, baby. There's no going back. I don't know. I mean, obviously we could leave, but then they'll attack us for 20 years. It's like, what do we do? Destroy? Do we level this country to the ground? Kill 100 million people? However many millions of people got to go? And
there's 90 million, I think.
Or do we yell to stop the war? Because I feel like I'm on board with this motion of American hegemony, free speech, property rights all over the planet. If we stop this thing, I think the whole system will crumble. So, but I don't want to kill a million Iranians. I do want the country to be called Persia, though, so it's less confusing. Iran.
Well, I mean, so it's been Iran for a long, long time. I know that it was Persia. It was Persia, like
1903 or something,
the Persian Empire and stuff. But it's actually been called Iran for a long, long time. The term Aryan comes from the word Iran, because they were like with the Caucasus. I guess the region is similar, but I don't have so much of a problem with the request for the money, because of the fact that it is to restock the depleted munitions, right? So you can have your problems with the war, you can have your concerns, you can address all of the real, actual, tangible problems that this is causing, but to say that the returning to whatever baseline level our munitions are or should be, I think that that's something that we should do, because the idea of allowing the United States to not have the overwhelming military power that we do have, allowing that to be degraded, is far more of a problem for the U.S. than to say, oh, we're not going to spend $200 billion.
How do you guys feel about Trump in general, like promising peace, promising no wars, promising to end wars, and dragging you guys into Iran? Like, does that bother you? Were you for Trump's promise of peace? Like, how do you?
I I view Trump on foreign policy as generally better than every other president in my lifetime. And
this is like, you can't take these people serious. you can't take Tim Pool serious. There's no way he made that statement that Donald Trump is the best in foreign policy in his lifetime. You can't. That's not a serious statement. He's ruined our relationship with countries all across the world. He's done illegal tariffs that the Supreme Court has decided that they are illegal, and now he has to give refunds on the tariffs that he has been getting. He is the Ukraine-Russia conflict continues, even though he said he was going to end the war. The Israel-Iran war started with us getting involved into a war, so we're in a war because of him. He went and kidnapped a president in Venezuela. He threatened Greenland and threatened to take over the country. Like, there is no way. Our standing in the world is the worst it's ever been. Our human rights and corruption index is the worst it's ever been. And you said his foreign relations is the best he's ever seen. You're a dumbass. You are fucking stupid. Oh my God.
Despite him being so hawkish?
He's been hawkish on Iran the whole time.
Well, he's hawkish everywhere, right? He pretends deterrence is like dovish policy, right? Like he'll like threaten to bomb people.
I respect the hawkishness. It's a question of, are you going to actually go in? I think my view of getting involved in Iran was skepticism, but hope. Venezuela was the same thing. And I think Venezuela played out very well. So,
well, for who?
For us,
not for the Venezuela.
Venezuela
seized our oil assets. We had a treaty with.
Was Tim Pool the same person bitching about us giving money to Ukraine and Russia? I bet there's a clip out there he was bitching about it. I bet he was bitching about it. Oh, I forgot. He's get paid by Russia, so of course that's why he didn't want to do that conflict. But he wants to be involved in these other wars. But Ukraine, Russia, no, because he gets paid by Russia. Obviously, gotcha.
Them, okay? We shook hands with Venezuela and said, we're going to build oil. And they said, you got it, brother. And we were all sharing in money, and they were the wealthiest country in South America. Then they elected a democratic socialist who came in and stole our oil assets, and our country did nothing about that. So I, again, say the Venezuela operation, skepticism, but then when Trump goes in, takes out Maduro, and just brings him to New York, which would be weird if he's found not guilty. I don't know how that'll play out. But then we get our oil assets back. I'm like, well, that's what I call justice. Now, as for Iran, this is a bigger question over the Strait of Hormuz.
I don't think they did. Didn't they steal their own didn't they nationalize Venezuelan companies?
These were American multi-billion-dollar investments to build oil infrastructure in Venezuela. And we had treaties with them to do it.
Sure,
and it was an estimated $10 billion in assets stolen.
Sure, but
this
is private American dollars, right? Does the American government owe private companies military protection?
Yes.
If the government that they went into trade with buys out the company that they went into trade with?
Especially when they're giving the oil to our enemies.
If Walmart
I don't care if it's true or not. It's an opinion on morality.
Think about the principle here. Like,
This is a great point. I haven't looked into this, so Kyla, I'm glad you brought this up. This is a great point. He tried to call it American assets, but this is not. It's Venezuelan assets that Americans are investing into. Is she insinuating that the Venezuelans bought their assets? Or is she insinuating that these are Venezuelan companies that are being invested into? So to claim that they are American assets is crazy. It's like trying to claim that TikTok is an American asset because they are invested into TikTok, even though we don't have the majority. Do we have the majority share? I'm not sure. I think ByteDance still has a huge share. We might have a board that has a majority share of American version of TikTok, maybe.
Take it out of Venezuela. If, say, Walmart has a close relationship with China, there's a Chinese private company that they're working with, and as a result of the Communist Party, China goes, we're actually taking all these assets, and they take like $10 billion worth of Walmart principles. Should America go in there and take private company assets? We should spend taxpayer dollars to take private company assets back? Why?
So first and foremost, the question about China would actually be a question of, can we be militarily successful in doing so? In terms of...
No, the question is, should the government go and bail out private companies? That's what the question is, not the military operation. But nice try, of course. You're a fucking weasel, so of course you don't want to address the talking point on its face. Good shit, Kyla. Good shit.
Venezuela stole. We had a treaty with them, which was at the governmental level, which we do have a treaty with China on trade. So if they're violent, and it's not just private assets that are being violated. Venezuela stole $10 billion plus in assets. We did nothing about it. All we did this time was discombobulate, take their leader out, and take back our oil industry from them, which we agreed to build with them. They broke the rules. They stabbed us in the back.
Question I got is, if the Chinese buy a bunch of farmland in the United States, and then the Americans are like, actually, this is our land, and they seize it from these private Chinese companies that did everything legally, are we in the right? And I would say yes, because it's American
100%.
sovereignty. So are Venezuelans in the right taking their sovereign territory back? It's different because it's Venezuela. That's the problem, is you justify, I mean, it's a justification of monkey tail. You got to do the strongest, hardest, brutalist winning tactic to survive.
There are, the first thing I would say is you are absolutely correct, and that I will always be biased for my society and my way of life and what I think is right. And I think that if I enter an agreement with another country to build oil assets and they share in those profits, and then they take them from me, that is a violation of...
But you didn't enter into the agreement. It was private investment. That's the thing that Kyla is arguing. This is not the government. This is not the entity of America. These are private individuals that are investing into this oil. So you're just bailing out the private companies, which is shady. That's sketchy.
Our moral agreement. Then, if you start privately buying up under my nose through our legal system, farmland near our military bases for which you can surveil them, I'm going to tell you to knock it the F off.
Yeah,
I'm going to take that land back.
The product that they're actually talking about matters too, right? Like oil is definitely a geopolitical tool, right? Like it's literally civilization juice.
So is that land? So would the Chinese have justification?
We've already addressed it. The farmland they're buying is near our military bases for which they're surveilling.
Tim needs to own his baldness. He's too self-conscious because Tim gets no bitches.
Our military.
Hey, I agree, but they're doing it legally.
Different.
Oh, what's good, Nick?
Let's say that's not what they're doing. Well, let's say in the hypothetical,
That's what they're doing.
Hold on. In the hypothetical, it's more analogous to this situation, but that's not, because I'm assuming you're not saying that America was actually making it military assets secretly, and I think it was actually private companies, oil drilling. So say it's private Chinese companies, as private as they can be, that own and buy farmland and are growing soybeans. In American land.
Venezuela is one of the least defensible regimes you can pick because the Venezuelan government alienated even their own people, where Maduro needed to use Cuban mercenaries in order to establish his power, where Maduro was a democratically elected politician who installed himself as dictator. He was profoundly unpopular, so he used Cuban mercenaries to install himself.
So regardless if we agree on the corrupt nature of this country, this is not a principle of dealing with a corrupt nation. This is the principle of, should the government be bailing out private companies, right? That's the conversation.
Power.
But nobody's defending Venezuela here. Nobody likes Venezuela. I didn't defend Venezuela.
I'm going to say it for the third time. If I have an agreement to produce oil in your country and we share in the profits, and you have a problem with that, negotiate the treaty, sever it, or otherwise.
Which they did negotiate and pay out $1 billion.
Let me finish. Don't steal it. If you are buying land in our country that's a threat to our national security, you are a threat to our national security as per our assessment.
So there
is a moral distinction between these two things. I will still add on top of that, we are the United States, and we are always going to operate at our behest and not for the benefit of anybody else. So if that means we, in good faith, negotiate a contract with Venezuela to build oil and they steal it, we take it back. That means if China buys land in our country and we deem it so, we will seize it from them. We do, because we are America working for our interests.
Sure, but then the principle that you're not mad about isn't that they're stealing from us. It's just that it's America. It's just, that's all the principle is. And what I'm saying is that's probably not good foreign policy. For example, in the Venezuela thing, as quick as I'm looking, Chevron took $1 billion payout because they agreed to dip, and they stayed actually as minority partners with Venezuela for a long time. The issue is that the two other oil barons didn't want to take the deal, and then in that case it got seized. And then they went through courts to try to get their assets back, which they were not successful in. And now the taxpayer is paying so that Mobil can have their assets back.
Yes,
the American taxpayer. I'm not sure I'm for.
What is the purpose? What is the point of the public?
Yo, Kyla cooked the shit out of Tim. She cooked the fucking shit out of Tim. Good shit, Kyla. Good shit. Erudite. Yeah, I mean, that's the argument. Regardless of how you feel about Venezuela, the argument that she made, which I do think is very astute, and I'm glad she did her research on this because this is not my expertise. I haven't looked into it in depth. But basically, all she's saying is that the private companies that invested into these oil, they got bailed out from this military operation. So the military, the government, the state decided to bail out these private oil companies. That's the argument from Tim. And the people who are paying for the military operation are American taxpayer dollars who are not benefiting from these private investors, these oil companies that are rich as fuck in the first place. So in theory, like based off the transitive property, American taxpayers who don't make a lot of money are paying to help the rich people. That's what's going on here. And of course, we know that Donald Trump is in favor with these oil companies, considering he literally talks to them directly on what to do in Venezuela. So I agree. That is not good foreign policy on dictating military action based off rich fucking private institutions. Kyla cooked.
Coffers, if not to defend the public from foreign adversaries.
I would say in this case, it would be, okay, what's in the good of the public? Making sure we have oil.
Let me ask you a simpler
That's
question.
it. Hold on.
A guy is on his dinghy fishing.
5 straight weeks of market losses. The NASDAQ is tanking. The price of oil is surging. Iran rejected Trump's ceasefire offer, and Wall Street's in free fall. Thanks, MAGA. Facts. They are destroying the fucking economy. But somehow people thought that Trump is better with the economy than Biden. Laughable. Laughable.
Off Florida when pirates show up. Why should the private taxpayer have the Coast Guard go and save him from some other country's pirates? That's literally the function of the military.
Companies individuals?
What does that have to do with what I'm talking about?
Well, you're comparing a company to an individual on his boat.
What does that have to do with the moral
an
point I made?
individual having their life and safety threatened by pirates is not the same thing as mobile.
You want to steal his boat to the Coast Guard stop him?
It's his individual property, right? In this
Should
case,
the Coast Guard stop? It's a company's property.
Just call it an Exxon tanker.
Yeah, there's an Exxon tanker and a bunch of pirates raid it. Should the Coast Guard stop the pirates?
probably the pirates, yeah.
What's the difference?
The difference is that we're
The
negotiating.
Venezuelan pirates.
It's a nation state that we have to negotiate with, and we can't just go to war with everyone.
So
who
we
fucks
let
with us.
Venezuela seize our tankers.
I think when they happened, we had massive sanctions. I believe large NATO sanctions were put against Venezuela. Nobody, as you said, nobody likes Venezuela. I don't like Venezuela.
Let's go back to the original question about
argument. You're arguing against America's interests, which should be the opposite of the American government. You're not using rational consistency. You're arguing against the interests of American power in each individual context.
I'm not actually, because theoretically, if the American government's for American success, the thing at question here isn't mobile. Like, we don't owe mobile anything as a company. We owe Americans.
Does mobile pay taxes?
No, but they do pay taxes, but we could negotiate a new trade deal with somebody else to increase our.
Man, everyone is smarter than everyone. No, there's some people who are smarter than me. And then there's some people who get paid to look up this stuff and still doesn't know jack shit. Like this guy.
Oil from somebody else,
Do
right?
they pay taxes partly for the public
Instead of
defense?
spending money to go blow up Venezuela, we could have negotiated contracts with other oil suppliers.
These companies pay taxes, which includes money for public defense, for which they're entitled.
To some extent.
And I will add on top of this that Venezuela seized our oil assets to distribute oil to our adversaries.
Yeah, that did happen as well, which is why we
so
engaged in sanctions. But the idea is that
the boot comes down.
This is the issue. In foreign policy, when people fuck you over, you don't just immediately go to might.
We didn't. It was 20 years ago.
Why?
It was 2009.
War is expensive and bad for economy and kills lots of people. That's why.
This was 17 years ago. And they tried the legal method and none of it worked. And Trump said, okay, get our oil back.
Sure.
17 years later is not a short amount of time.
Yeah, and one of the issues is we didn't really get our oil back. Most of the tankers that we seized from them, we've sold off to Saudi Arabia, which only apparently the Trump admin can actually have access to the $500 million. So the American taxpayers didn't even make back the money that we spent to bail out.
We also cut off Cuba. But I want to go back to the original question so we can round this one out and jump to the
she cooked you and you decided to go to a different question? That's tough. That's tough. You couldn't compete, so of course Tim is going to go to a different question. That's how it works.
Stories that we have, and it was a question about how we feel about Donald Trump. And I will say I'm a big fan of the Abraham Accords. When Donald Trump crossed the DMZ with Kim Jong-un, I was welling up. I was nearly in tears. I mean, that was an incredible moment for the Koreas. And Donald Trump crossed into the DMZ without security. They could have killed him. They could have captured him. They could have done a lot of things. And you can say it was free. You can say it was free, but it was a tremendous step towards peace. And I'd like to see more of that. So I tremendously respect it. Donald Trump's at the timeline for getting out of Afghanistan. None of this, of course, is perfect. But Donald Trump has been infinitely better on foreign policy than any president of my lifetime.
The
Afghanistan is in a conflict with Pakistan right now.
It was horrific.
That was Joe Biden.
It was not. You just said that the pull-up policy was decided.
The timeline was set by Trump.
It was Biden.
It was
No, Biden had to finish what Trump was already starting. Oh, these motherfuckers are going to lie. Kyla, please tell them. This is something I did research, so please correct them.
Not just Biden. The problem is that when things happen over multiple presidencies, it's typically both administrations.
No, it was Joe Biden.
It was not just Joe Biden.
Trump had established a timeline to pull out, and Joe Biden went ahead and said, "We're not going to do that. I'm going to just do it now."
He changed the timeline to 9/11 to make a scene, and then he surrendered the military. And then they abandoned Bagram Air Force Base.
They surrendered military equipment, billions of dollars of night vision.
I'm not a fan of the way that we pulled out of Afghanistan at all. What I'm actually pointing to is a partisan blame of just one president. When, for example, when we look at economies, we always want to blame
Afghanistan. What do you mean?
Trump began the pullout of it.
Which
he abandoned the Kurds.
You agree with?
Not the way we did it.
No. Not the way Biden did. Let's go back in time. Do you support, at the time when Trump said we're going to get out of Afghanistan? Is that a good thing?
I'm not sure.
You think we should have stayed in Afghanistan?
Possibly, yeah.
Okay, yeah, I don't. I think that's morally abhorrent and psychotic.
Why? But you want to take
Because we spent
Venezuela
20 years
and
nation building, trying to
throw
turn
over
Afghanistan
sovereignty?
into South Korea.
Wait, how is it possible that overthrowing a nation state sovereignty is cool and based, but trying to establish democracy within a country, which I agree wasn't done very well in Afghanistan, is somehow morally abhorrent?
The first one seems to be something you've made up.
Venezuela, you're for Venezuela, which is an invasion of a nation state and killing it.
Back our assets that were taken from us.
And taking their elected official. I don't care that we don't like him. You're for it. How is this not morally questionable? But in the case of Afghanistan, there's no question here?
As simply and monosyllabically as possible.
Sure.
Afghanistan is 20 years of nation building. Venezuela was several days.
Okay.
Bitch, how can you not understand what she's doing, what she's asking you? She says, your whole point on removing itself from Afghanistan is that it's not good. It's a waste of time. We shouldn't waste our time in establishing democracy there. When we took the president from Venezuela, they also initiated the idea of establishing democracy there, establishing regime change. You're in favor of that. So is the difference the timeline, or is the difference the principle of regime change and establishing democracy in Afghanistan? Consistency, please. That's what Kyla's getting to. Go ahead, Kyla. Continue.
Why did the nation building fail?
Because you cannot make Afghanis gay communists.
No. The reason that it failed is in large part it was too expensive. So because we nation built in Japan.
Because it takes 60
exceptionally
years.
well. We nation built in Greece.
Yeah,
we
it
nation
takes
built
60 years.
in South Korea.
That implies that all societies are the same.
I don't think they're the same.
And Afghanis couldn't do jumping jacks. You need at least 3 generations, which we did get in the Koreas and in Japan.
You need to establish education. You need to let girls go to school, and you need to establish a middle class, which does take a long time.
And they were in conflict the whole time in Afghanistan. It wasn't working, and they should have gotten.
But more importantly, we never worked with local experts of Afghanistan. We didn't work with people on the ground.
We worked with the Hazaras. We worked with the northern tribes. We built up an entire northern coalition. And to pull back, you support the continuation of the occupation of Afghanistan.
I did not. Hold on. No. I did not say it's Korea. I said I don't know.
So you're that's an argument that allows a lot of plausible deniability.
No, it says I don't know my answer to that. Well, you can, but you can't put words in my mouth of what I haven't said.
Afghanistan, Venezuela. I was going to say Burma, but I meant Iran.
I did not say.
So in each place, you are positionally against American foreign policy. You're not operating under a unified moral code.
Nope, my unified.
She hates America.
Yeah, you're against the American foreign policy, and you're picking whatever the opposition of it is.
You couldn't engage in a hypothetical, so I'm not sure how
I ran an alternate history show for 7 years. Of course I can.
My consistent. Well, you didn't. So that's
right.
You didn't.
For 7 years.
Rawls isn't true because genes.
Guys, enough with Rawls.
Rawls couldn't engage in a hypothetical because he couldn't project his views onto reality.
Rawls like this. Here, I'll tell you my consistent thread. My consistent thread is I would like to see worldwide liberal democracies emerge. That's what I would like to see. Because I think
I agree. I also would love to see a worldwide liberal democracy. I agree to that statement.
Liberal democracies tend not to go to war with each other. They lift people out of poverty best. They establish a good middle class. They establish education, and they decrease
the idea is religion.
It's not religion.
One at a time.
Sorry, go ahead.
The idea that every society can.
Okay, and the Afghanistan stuff. So we started pulling out of Afghanistan during the Obama period. Trump eventually decided to pull out of Afghanistan. The also big issue regarding what Trump did is that he didn't communicate very well at all with the kind of leadership there. And then slowly and steadily, what has started happening is that the terrorist organizations in Afghanistan started taking and more power. And then Biden took over and it was a fucking mess. So what happened is that he said, we just have to get out of there. And Biden also made a mistake here in terms of leaving from Afghanistan too, because he also didn't communicate with leadership. So it started with Trump and it started getting really bad under Trump because of his willingness to not talk with the leadership of Afghanistan. And he was directly talking with the terrorist organizations and then started pulling out. It was so bad that Joe Biden wanted to get out there immediately following Trump's plan, and he did. They still didn't talk to the leadership, and then it just got fucked over. So everybody trying to make this only a Biden thing, they just leaving out the context of all the bullshit Trump did that started this whole fucking thing in the first place. Now, in terms of the premise of should we have left Afghanistan, I agree with Kyla. That's a difficult question. I don't think it's simple. I think if you leave Afghanistan, you give up on the project of establishing democracy there, And then obviously terrorist organizations started taking control. So I'm unsure. I'm with Kyla. I'm unsure if that was the best decision. I don't know. I have a cop out as well. Anyway, someone said Trump is a Antichrist Jews for Trump, free healthcare for Israel. Breaking news: Americans are now dying for the Antichrist Jews in Israel. That's crazy. Oh man, 5 million. Pull the tool. Pull the tool is a really good one. Pull the tool. You're cooking. 5 million people just took to the streets against this regime in the U.S. Shout out the No Kings protest. Shout out. Yeah, what about Obama giving Iran money and Biden unlocking billions to them in Iran? What are you referring to specifically? I can look that up. What are you referring to about Obama giving Iran money? I'm assuming you're lying because that's what typically happens with MAGA. That leaves out a lot of context. And Biden unlocking billions. So I think I remember the unlocking the money thing. Did they do that to get prisoners from Iran? Is that what happened? It's a while ago. The Obama giving money to Iran, there's probably more context to that in particular. What about the protests that happened with people supporting Iran? No one showing this. If people are supporting Iran, I think that's bad. Simple. I'm not okay with that. Iran's bad. Netanyahu's the president of the U.S. That's crazy. He gave cash to Iran. Drop a source. Drop a source and I'll look at it.
Be a liberal democracy is totally outside of the realm of possibility.
Like genes, like some people are genetically incapable of having a liberal democracy.
Just because of customs.
Yeah, well, I have a question. I have a question in this regard. Like Liberia, for instance.
I don't know enough about Liberia.
We repatriated former slaves and then established an American constitutional liberal democracy, and it devolved into cannibalism and tribal warfare.
Because why?
I don't know.
Well, the issue is
Maybe
you say
knows. You know
nobody
Liberia,
can.
Right?
Nobody can.
Liberia, I feel like he's lying. I'm not interested enough to look into Liberia, but I am 90% confident Tim Pool the tool just completely bastardized that characterization. I said drop a source. I didn't say fucking go like this is widely known. I said drop a source. Do that. Because widely known for MAGA is propaganda. So drop a source.
And
nobody can.
Sorry, certain cultures
Sometimes
can't.
you can.
Certain cultures can't. My argument would be not all the liberal democracies have to look the same. When I say liberal democracy, I don't mean superheroes that are gay. What I mean is free speech, due process, strong institutions.
So your argument about free speech, like there's a lot of societies that totally reject free speech out of hand.
Yeah, and they're wrong.
Well, I mean, so the point that I'm making is those societies choose to be that way. They choose to not be liberal democracy.
Well, they shouldn't have the choice.
And we can't make other societies have our values.
No, I think we can convince them to have.
I want to get to this next story, which is actually relevant to the conversation. I want to say one last thing on this, and that
Liberia
I think there's a realignment that's going to happen. The progressives that lost in Illinois lost largely to AIPAC-backed candidates, which many people consider to be a shift. Plus, we're seeing the media purchases by pro-Israel, pro-Zionist individuals. I tweeted this earlier. I think that we're going to see a political realignment where one party becomes interventionist and one party becomes anti-interventionist. I'm not entirely sure if the Democrats will be the anti or pro-interventionist, considering they're very critical of Trump right now, but it is shifting. And with AIPAC backing these candidates, Democrats may actually end up in the...
This is a dumb fucking prescription. We're not going to have two parties that's interventionist and anti-interventionist. That's just no. A lot of Republicans are willing to intervene and Democrats are willing to intervene depending on the individuals. No. That's a terrible fucking analysis. He's such a dog shit fucking political. I don't like pull the tool.
We should go into these countries, and then with Tucker, Candace, and Meghan being loud right-wing voices, the Republican may become staunchly anti-intervention, which shifts the dynamic from woke versus anti-woke into.
Why are people pushing this Tucker Carlson as a fucking presidential candidate? Bullshit. Bro, if Tucker Carlson becomes a Republican primary nominee, I might mind grab myself, bro. I swear to God. Like, no way we go from Donald Trump to Tucker Carlson. Please. Republicans, you're not that fucking retarded, bro. Please. You guys are not that stupid. No way you guys go from Donald Trump to fucking Tucker Carlson. Please. You guys don't go from Donald Trump to Tucker Carlson. It's like, you guys hate the fucking country. I swear to God. Please don't just go from Donald. Tucker Carlson's another tool. Facts. We can agree there. Play. APAC money is political poison. Yeah, to some, I guess. Choosing between knowing saying we want Tucker. I don't know what's going on. I've been hearing these fucking fake ass centrists be talking about how Tucker Carlson is and Megyn Kelly are the new Republican voices. I don't know what's going on. I don't get it. Choosing between two bad things is the sheepy op. Sheepy op. I don't know.
War and pro-war, which is exactly what we were seeing with Obama versus McCain after the Bush era, where Obama played the I'm against the war, and McCain was like, well, sometimes you need it. So again, I think the point you're making about why we I'm not saying we should have, may have needed to stay in Afghanistan is a point made by many neoliberals, more moderate Democrats about nation building. But
let me say this, Duke. This is really important, that sometimes you need to
pull the tool. Just said it right now.
Do evil to create order in life. And sometimes you need to create chaos to produce good, because totalitarian systems that have too much. So this is an instance of going into Venezuela, of doing something predominantly evil to create order in the realm.
Okay,
and you just have to always have that debate.
That's from the New York Post. U.S. territory turned tropical maternity ward has produced thousands of American babies for parents living in China. Amazing. The Commonwealth of the Northern Mariana Islands is a U.S. territory northeast for parents living in China.
U.S. territory turned tropical maternity ward has produced thousands of American babies for parents living in China. Oh, they're going to do the China operation thing. You know, this is why we shouldn't have birthright citizenship. That type. Is that what we're about to do here? All right. Shout out Kyla. I'm done watching this. I hate Temple. I'm getting worn out. Okay. Is fascism back? I might just listen to this while I work out. Not listen to this. Not listen to this. I already know. You know what? I'll listen to this while I work out. I think it's so. Typically, what I do is when I go to the gym, go watch Andrew Wilson. I have watched Andrew Wilson. Andrew Wilson sucks. He's a bad faith debater. So, Pool sucks. I agree. So you know what? To be fair, I did watch Andrew Wilson. I mean, I did watch Tim Pool. Pool sucks. The only reason why I watched Pool is because I thought he had someone who's capable of debating Pool and Erudite.